Hey everyone, welcome back to 𝙏𝙃𝘼𝙉𝙆. Tonight's story will leave you questioning whether you ever should go camping in the forest. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and let's begin. I've always loved solitude. It calms me. That's why last summer, I packed a tent, a backpack full of supplies, and drove 4 hours out to the edge of the Mason Ridge Forest, a place most people don't go. Not because it's dangerous, but because it's just forgotten. No mobile signal, no campsites, just miles of trees and silence. That's what I wanted. I parked the car at the end of an overgrown dirt trail and hiked 2 miles into the woods. I found a clearing by a shallow creek, sunlight dripping through the branches, bird song filling the air. It was perfect. I set up my tent, lit a small fire, made coffee, and just listened to the stillness. That first night was peaceful, but the second night, that's when something changed. It started just after midnight. I crawled into my tent, zipped up the flap, and was lying there staring at the roof, drifting in and out of sleep when I noticed the silence. Not the normal, gentle hush of the woods, but a kind of hollow silence. The kind that feels too quiet. The insects had stopped. The creek's babbling seemed distant, like it was suddenly further away. Even the wind had died. I propped myself up, listening. That's when I heard it. A footstep. Not a heavy stomp or a dramatic crunch. Just a single, soft impression in the leaves. And then another. And another. It was faint, like someone trying not to be heard. I told myself it was an animal, maybe a deer, maybe a fox. But it was too steady, too slow, like something walking on 2 feet. I held my breath. My heart started to race. The footsteps stopped just outside my tent. No sound, no shadow, just the growing pressure of something standing there. Watching, then nothing. No movement, no retreat. It was as if whatever had been there just vanished. Eventually, I fell asleep, though not really. I think my brain just shut down out of exhaustion. The next morning, I searched the area around my tent. No prints. No signs of anything. But about 10 feet from my campfire, right where the sound had stopped, the leaves looked disturbed, as if someone had brushed them aside and then rearranged them. I almost packed up and left. I should have, but I told myself I was being dramatic. That night, I kept a flashlight and my survival knife in my sleeping bag. Around 1:30 a.m., I heard something again. This time, it was stranger. Not footsteps. It sounded like breathing. Raspy, shallow, right outside the tent near my head. I stayed still, holding my breath, eyes wide open, frozen. It lasted for almost a minute. Then it stopped. Again, I heard nothing leave. I didn't sleep at all that night. At dawn, I checked around again. Still no prints. Still no signs. But I noticed something that made my skin crawl. A thin, almost invisible line of thread tied between 2 trees, waist high, just beyond my tent. I hadn't put it there. I touched it. It snapped at the slightest pressure. Why was it there? I started to think maybe I wasn't alone. Maybe someone else was camping nearby and playing some twisted prank. But I hadn't seen another person for 2 days. I shouted hello into the forest. No reply. That evening, I made a fire big enough to light up the whole clearing. I sat with my back to a tree, knife in hand, flashlight on my lap. No sleep. Not that night. At around 2 a.m., the woods fell dead silent again. Then I heard something new. A whisper. Not words. Just a sound like someone exhaling into my ear. And it was coming from inside the tent, even though I wasn't in it. I stood slowly, every part of me tense, heart pounding. I pointed the flashlight at the tent. It was still. No movement. I took 1 step forward. Suddenly, the flashlight died. The fire behind me flickered, then dropped to embers in seconds. Total darkness. The only sound was that quiet, low breathing. I backed away from the tent. My foot snapped a stick, and instantly, the breathing stopped. I waited. I didn't move for 20 minutes. Then I ran. I left everything, tent gear, even my phone, and sprinted through the woods in the dark. Branches whipped my face. I tripped. I fell. But I kept going until I reached the dirt trail and kept running until I saw the glint of my car in the early dawn light. I locked the doors and didn't stop shaking for an hour. When I finally drove away, I didn't look back. 2 weeks later, I went back with a friend, someone I trusted, someone armed. We hiked to the same spot. The tent was gone. Not collapsed. Not torn. Just gone. No trash. No tools. No rope. As if I'd never camped there. But something was left behind. A single footprint. Human. Pressed deep into the dirt, right where my head had been when I slept. And it was barefoot. I've never gone camping alone again. I don't talk about this with people often because they always ask the same thing. Do you think it was a ghost? No, I don't think it was a ghost. Because ghosts are dead. And whatever was out there felt very alive. It didn't want to scare me. It wanted to learn how close it could get before I noticed. I've hiked all over Oregon's forest for the past 10 years, solo. I've seen wildcats, slept through storms, woke up to a bear once sniffing my tent. I don't scare easy, but something happened last October that made me drop everything and leave the woods. At 3 a.m., barefoot, with nothing but my keys in my hand. I never went back. I was out near Cinder Lake, a lesser-known trail system about 30 miles from the nearest town. Not many campers go there, mostly because there's no reception and not even much wildlife. It's quiet, empty, perfect for thinking. I planned 3 nights, hiked 7 miles in, set up my tent near a mossy ridge overlooking the lake. Trees were thin but tall, dead still even in the wind. The first night was uneventful. Just a peaceful fire, some freeze-dried soup, and a journal entry about how calm the lake looked. Then I noticed something. When I clapped or yelled out just to hear the sound, it never echoed. Not even once. That was odd. I've camped in hundreds of valleys and forests. Sound always bounces somewhere. But in Cinder Lake, the air swallowed it. Night 2 is when things started. I was sitting by the fire, sketching the ridge line, when I heard something behind me. It wasn't a footstep, more like a breath. A long, steady exhale. I turned fast, nothing there. But the air felt thick, like I was standing in someone's shadow. Then I noticed the fire. It was still burning, but the flames weren't moving. They flickered without sound, without smoke. Like I was watching a video on mute. I put more wood on. It stayed like that, quiet, eerie, for the rest of the night. At some point, I must have fallen asleep in my chair because I woke up after midnight with a stiff neck. The fire was out. The woods were dead silent. I stood up and froze. My tent was unzipped, only halfway, just like someone had peeked in. I hadn't touched it since I set it up earlier, and I always zip it to the top. I grabbed my flashlight, checked inside, nothing missing, nothing disturbed, but the dirt just outside the tent looked swept, not trampled, not stepped in, like someone had brushed it clean. I didn't sleep that night. Third day, I hiked 2 miles in a different direction. Just wanted to clear my head. Kept telling myself, maybe I forgot to zip the tent. Maybe the wind brushed the dirt. But Cinder Lake doesn't get wind. On my way back, maybe 100 feet from my tent, I stopped. There were footprints beside mine. Not boot prints, bare feet. Human, flat, wide, and deep in the soil like someone had walked slowly, heavily, barefoot beside me. I stared at them for a long time. Then I looked up and noticed something worse. All the trees around me were facing the wrong direction. Let me explain. Trees in that area leaned slightly toward the lake. Always have. But now, every tree in that small stretch, maybe 10, maybe 15, was tilted slightly away, as if something had moved through them, and the trees shifted quietly to let it pass. I backed out of that area and didn't go back. I decided I'd sleep early and leave in the morning. That night, I zipped myself into the tent by 8 p.m. Didn't eat. Didn't write. Just lay there. I couldn't sleep. Not because of noise, but because of lack of it. No bugs. No wind. Even my breathing felt muffled. Around midnight, I sat up, light off, just listening. That's when I heard it again. That breath. But this time, it wasn't behind me. It was inside the tent. Not loud, not raspy, just close. I didn't move, didn't even blink. Then it stopped, and I felt it. Not a touch, not a breeze, a presence, like something was watching me, but not from across the room. From inches away, I slowly reached for my flashlight, turn it on. Nothing. Empty tent. Silent. I turned it off again, and in the pitch black, I swear, I heard the sound of the zipper move. Not opening, just a tiny twitch, like someone testing it from the outside. I snapped, grabbed my keys, unzipped the tent, and ran barefoot to the trail. Left my shoes, my gear, my everything. Didn't care. Didn't stop until I reached the car and locked the doors. Just sat there, shaking, engine off till morning. I never went back. The ranger later said my campsite looked untouched. Tent zipped, gear neatly packed. He said it looked like I'd never even been there. But I know what I felt, and I know what I didn't hear. Echoes. Whatever lies near Cinder Lake doesn't cast shadows, doesn't make noise, doesn't leave footprints unless it wants to. It just watches, and waits, and breathes. It was supposed to be a break. Just me and my best friend, Liam. 2 days in the woods. No phones, no noise, just trees, firewood, and beer. We picked a remote trail up near Alder Ridge. One of those lesser-known loops, not even listed on official maps. Liam found it on some deep-in-the-web hiking subreddit. Peaceful and underused, the post said. Great views, but can get eerie after dark. We laughed that off. The hike started off great. Late October air. Rust-colored leaves crunching beneath our boots. Everything smelled like pine and earth. The perfect disconnect. By dusk, we found a flat spot in a clearing, just off-trail, surrounded by towering evergreens. Set up the tent, built a small fire, cooked instant noodles, and cracked open a couple cans. We talked about dumb stuff. Work, college memories, ghost stories too, of course. Just enough to give the woods an edge. By midnight, the fire had turned to coals and the trees were just black silhouettes. We sat in the dark, listening to the wind rustle through branches high above. Then it changed. The wind stopped. No owls, no leaves, dead silence. Liam leaned toward me. You hear that? I held my breath. At first, nothing. Then from somewhere in the trees behind us came a slow, creaking sound, like rope under tension. We both stood up fast, flashlights in hand. Probably a branch, I muttered, even though it didn't feel like that. We scanned the area. Nothing on the ground. No movement. Then Liam pointed his light upward, and we both saw it. A body, hanging, right above our tent. It swung gently, the way a hangman might if he'd just stopped moving. The rope stretched from a thick branch 30 feet up. He was barefoot, jeans, shirt torn at the chest, head bent at an impossible angle. The kind of thing that forces your stomach to drop, like your brain refuses to accept what your eyes are seeing. Neither of us said a word. We just stared. Then Liam whispered, "How do we not see that earlier?" And that's when it hit me. We'd been sitting right there for hours, and there had been no body. I know what I saw when I looked up at sunset. That tree was empty. We backed away slowly, but our flashlights flickered, both of them. Not out, just dimming weirdly. The light bent. I can't explain it. Like it didn't want to touch him. That's when I saw something worse. There were drag marks in the dirt behind our tent. 2 of them, deep, like someone or something had dragged their feet through the pine needles to that tree. But only one body was hanging, and there were no footprints. I looked at Liam. He looked at me. We bolted, left the tent, left the bags, just ran down the trail with only our dying flashlights and our breath loud in our ears. We didn't talk. We didn't stop. Just ran until our legs burned. After maybe half an hour, we paused to catch our breath. "I think we're going the wrong way," Liam said, panicked. That's when I turned to look behind us. There was another tree, another rope, another body, swinging in the distance, barely lit by our beam. But not the same one. This one was wearing my hoodie, the one I left back at the tent. We didn't wait. We kept running. No trail markers. Just endless forest. Until finally, sometime before dawn, we saw a light. A cabin. Old, run down, but with a lantern on the porch. Looked empty. We pounded on the door. No answer. We didn't care. We just sat on the porch until the sun came up. We never found that tent again. Forest rangers searched after we reported it. Found no tree with a rope. No body. Not even a flattened area where we swore we camped. But they found our bags, 3 miles from the spot we thought we ran from. No footprints. No tent. No hoodie. And the worst part? When I got home, I found a rope burn around my wrist. I don't know how it got there, but I haven't been in the woods since.